Very much, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you afterwards. Mr. Speaker, honorable members of this honorable House, I take the floor in support of the resolution before this honorable House to approve the draft value-added tax amendment of Schedule 1, Number 2, Order 2025. Mr. Speaker, I feel a sense of pride after 4 years in office that this administration continues to explore ways of easing the squeeze on the people of this country, protecting the most vulnerable, whilst returning order in the nation's finances. And today, Mr. Speaker, is no exception. Mr. Speaker, the measure I alluded to earlier seeks to extend and refine the scope of zero-rated goods under the Value Added Tax Act, Cap 1542. And it reflects this government's ongoing commitment to reducing the cost of living for St. Lucian citizens, particularly the women and girls in the case of the zero rating of the sanitary napkins, and promoting renewable energy and sustainable development. Mr. Speaker, this new policy measure will build on our government's current set of tax measures, which involve increasing the number of zero-rated items in the VAT schedule, notably those goods that are purchased by the low-income individuals, removal of the service charge, and the import duties on many of these goods. Now, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind this honorable House that when the former Prime Minister, the honorable member for Beaufort South, set in motion VAT in this country, he zero-rated and exempted over 100 items. Over 100 to protect the most vulnerable in this country. So when the leader of the opposition and his apostles talk about reducing VAT, they were not reducing VAT to benefit those people, because it was already exempted and zero-rated. Mr. Speaker, the approach we have taken towards reducing the cost of living and prices of certain goods that can be deemed as necessities in the shopping basket of ordinary St. Lucians has been a full frontal attack, utilizing the full range of the policy instruments available to us in putting people first. Mr. Speaker, unlike the previous government, which said that we had a hidden consumption tax of $6.80 per gallon on fuel, and orchestrated an orange march for the purpose of getting St. Lucians to protest about the high fuel prices. And I will come to an article momentarily, Mr. Speaker, and comments that intend to misrepresent the truth of this administration's work and trying to tiptoe their way back into government. Mr. Speaker, after misleading the people, and the people found out that he was not telling the truth because there was no hidden consumption tax of $6.80, the leader of the opposition has given his definition of the truth, saying that the truth is what you believe it to be. I guess the definition in total, Mr. Speaker, is even if you know it is a lie and you believe it to be the truth, it is the truth. We do not govern using that formula, Mr. Speaker. And no amount of mamagain can divert the train of victory of this government to anywhere else but to a resounding victory at the next general election on the basis of performance, Mr. Speaker. After that lie about that 680, I understand that the leader of the opposition met with the oil distributors who assured him that there was no hidden $6.80 tax on fuel. I understand. He told them that is politics. After not finding the $6.80 per gallon, the former Minister of Finance then went ahead to increase the excise tax on fuel by $1.50 per gallon to $4 per gallon, ostensibly to put money in a lockbox to fix roads. But then he leaves a legacy of a mountain of debt from the design, finance, construct contracts that he used to finance most of his roads. This lockbox was an illusion which only existed in the mind of the leader of the opposition. He appears to be living in an alternate reality, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, he did not even reduce the price of fuel when oil prices went down to record lows as low as $30 per barrel on the oil market during COVID. Mr. Speaker, at that time, he was making a huge windfall on the excise tax. Maybe one of his candidates, who seemed to be his chief economic advisor, Mr. Descat, should do some research during this time so that he can understand how the excise tax was used as a revenue maximizing tool under the former administration, under the stewardship of the leader of the opposition. He even had the audacity, Mr. Speaker, to tell fishermen who were feeling the impact of high fuel prices that he would not give them any relief on fuel prices because they also use the roads. But all of a sudden, there is a sudden interest in the most vulnerable. There is a sudden interest in fishermen because they're in opposition and they want to get back into government. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that UWP has no regard for our fisher folk who go out risking their lives to catch fish for the people of St. Lucia. The UWP government often prides itself on saying that they are guided by the philosophy of give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. In this case, Mr. Speaker, they were intent on starving the fishermen for a lifetime. Mr. Speaker, we are not like the previous government, which promised that they would eliminate VAT, then suddenly realized that they could not do it and reduce VAT by 2.5 percentage points. Was this, Mr. Speaker, an example of spontaneous combustion on the part of the leader of the opposition that Mr. Preville referred to recently on a talk show program? Or was it deliberate deception intended to mislead and fool St. Lucians to vote for them? More recently, Mr. Speaker, we have heard from Mr. Tommy Descat, one of the two economic advisors of the leader of the opposition, saying that Allen does not need a degree in economics when he will have Titus and me in his cabinet, unquote. But both of them were there between 2016 and 2021 advising that same leader of the opposition. And in a while, we will know what happened to St. Lucia when they were in control of the levers of power. Mr. Speaker, the recent utterances of the economics gurus of the leader of the opposition show that they are either following in his footsteps or they are just poor economic advisors. Recently, we heard Mr. Preville saying that 27 of the items that are zero-rated were already tax-exempt, suggesting that the two, namely tax-exempt and zero-rated VAT, are one and the same. I think that my colleagues who spoke before me have already clarified that. And what is wrong with moving it from exempt to zero-rated to give the consuming public an improved framework to enjoy lower food prices? What is wrong with that? Mr. Speaker, Is this the person you'd want to advise on economic policy? And for the leader of the opposition to return as Minister for Finance in this country to take our country where the honorable member for Kaswis is took it. We'll come to that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we now understand how the decision to purchase vaccines by direct purchase was made. It was a product of spontaneous combustion. Unlike Barbados and the Bahamas, they went ahead and paid Radical Investments Limited in full $7.3 million. Radical Investments Limited then paid another company called Good Vibrations Entertainment. Mr. Speaker, wouldn't these names ring alarm bells to any sane and rational individual? Incidentally, Radical Investments has and had no track record in procuring vaccines, Mr. Speaker. We then have Mr. Descat again stating that our policies to relieve the burden of the cost of living is too little too late. He does not, however, say that we had to fix the financial mess and mountain of payables and debt to restore financial stability and confidence in the government's fiscal policies. He then makes a specious link of fuel prices to inflation without providing any evidence on this, Mr. Speaker. A responsible economist, Mr. Speaker, would have investigated the relationship between fuel prices and inflation before making any judgment or inferences. This is how a responsible economist undertakes research, Mr. Speaker. It appears, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. Descat is doing the reverse, namely making inferences and then attempting to do research to support his inferences. This is specious, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, based on the data from the ECCB, the average inflation rate in St. Lucia over the last 5 years is below the ECCU average. And notably, Mr. Speaker, St. Lucia was the only country to have negative inflation, namely deflation, in 2024. Further, Mr. Speaker, the country with the lowest fuel prices had the highest average inflation over the 5-year period. I repeat, Mr. Speaker, the country with the lowest fuel prices had the highest average inflation over the 5-year period. Mr. Descat should also have spent some time to look at the retail prices of goods in supermarkets across the ECCU area before he could arrive at this conclusion. I am aware, Mr. Speaker, that Mr. Descat lived in Barbados while he worked at the Caribbean Development Bank. He may be able to tell us what is the excise tax rate on fuel and the VAT rate in Barbados. The last matter I wish to touch on about Mr. Descat's reasoning is the most recent statement he made about the import duty revenue collections. Rather than attributing the increase in revenue collections to the growth in the economy, which is again supported by the data, he said it was due to our high import duty rates. Mr. Speaker, we have not increased the import duty rates. Mr. Speaker, we have not increased the import duty rates. Mr. Descat should have undertaken a review of the volume of imports purchased as opposed to the value of imports, which factors in both price and volume, both of them. There is no doubt that the cost of imports have gone up. But, Mr. Speaker, we have also recorded an increase in domestic demand for goods in St. Lucia, reflecting that St. Lucians purchase more goods and services. I repeat, Mr. Speaker, the increase in imports, which drives import duty collection, was driven by an increase in both prices and, importantly, demand, with the latter reflecting on an increase that St. Lucians had more income to purchase more goods. So it means that the economy is doing better, Mr. Speaker, that there is an increased demand for goods and services in the economy. And on this point, Mr. Speaker, I wish to refer to page 92 of the 2024 Economic and Social Review, which states as follows under the caption Imports. During the review period, greater domestic demand for goods, and I stress on this, Mr. Speaker, and I repeat, greater domestic demand for goods coupled with higher unit import prices of some items, and I stress again, Mr. Speaker, on some items, drive up the value of goods imported in St. Lucia. Mr. Speaker, I pointed this out to say I did my research and did not simply just talk off the top of my head. Our analysis must be grounded in proper evidence-based research. I believe, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Descartes, as one of the economists working on the Economic and Social Review, while he worked in the Ministry of Finance, should know better. Mr. Speaker, the government led by the Honorable Prime Minister of Finance, Economic Development and the Youth Economy, Minister for Justice and National Security, is a responsible government that ensures that the tax exemptions and zero rating are done in a manner that does not compromise our public finances. Mr. Speaker, we are not like the opposition, which continues to peddle misinformation, disinformation, and appear to be reinventing economics in a perverse and outlandish manner. I want to go to the legal basis and parliamentary oversight. Under Section 1091A of the Value Added Tax Act, the Minister of Finance is empowered to amend the schedule to the Act by order published in the Gazette. Section 1092 further provides that such orders require an affirmative resolution of this Honorable Parliament, except where the amendment concerns custom tariff headings only. Today's resolution, therefore, is a proper exercise of parliamentary oversight and accountability, ensuring that the people's representatives give their approval to tax measures that have direct social and economic implications. You see, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about transparency and accountability, that's what we are talking about. Things like that we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, this resolution proposes that sanitary towels, tampons, and similar sanitary products on the customs tariff heading 96.19 continue to be zero rated. Honorable members will recall that in 2023, this House approved an amendment to Schedule 1 of the VAT Act that granted a 2-year period of relief on these essential goods. That relief was not simply a fiscal measure. It was a matter of social justice and gender equity. That's what it was, Mr. Speaker. By removing VAT on sanitary products, we recognize the disproportionate burden that women and girls face in managing menstrual health. This measure is proposed to address period poverty on a permanent basis. Mr. Speaker, period poverty is a widespread public health and social issue, characterized by inadequate access to menstrual products, proper sanitation facilities, and menstrual health education. This deficiency often leads to missed school or work, health risk, and social stigma. You see what it contributes to, Mr. Speaker? It contributes to a whole spectrum of social issues. And this is why we have the courage to come in the Parliament and do what is right, to improve the living standards of the people of this country, especially the most vulnerable, who year in, year out under this former administration face an existence that was less than honorable. Mr. Speaker, the problem of period poverty is being addressed in both developed and developing countries, including Scotland, New Zealand, Australia, United States of America, yes, you heard right, Mr. Speaker, France, South Africa, Spain, Kenya, Lebanon, Malaysia, Taiwan, and Togo. Mr. Speaker. This is not an exhaustive list, but it shows the number of countries that see this problem as a serious issue and have taken steps to address it. In the Caribbean, Mr. Speaker, we are aware that Guyana is taking proactive steps in addressing period poverty. In August 2025, President Ali announced that all taxes on sanitary supplies will be eliminated. We are indeed a leader on the issue of period poverty in this region, Mr. Speaker. And I say all of this, Mr. Speaker, to denounce the statements made by the United Workers' Party, who said the following about our policy to address period poverty. When a country has gotten to a point where mothers cannot buy pads for their daughters, it tells me my country has sunk below the line. That's the policy of the United Workers' Party, Mr. Speaker, arguing that not even Haiti has such a policy. Not even Haiti has such a policy. And that mindset wants to get back into government. Mr. Speaker, I am still in utter disbelief at the statement made by the United Workers' Party. Comments regarding the government's initiative to provide sanitary products for young women in our schools are not only ill-informed, but insensitive. But they strike at the very dignity of our daughters, sisters, and mothers across this nation. The UWP has suggested that the provision of sanitary pads to schoolgirls is evidence that our country has sunk below the line. Mr. Speaker, nothing could be further from the truth. On the contrary, this initiative reflects a government that cares enough to confront a long-ignored reality that too many of our young women are forced to stay home from school or suffer indignity because their families cannot always afford menstrual products. Addressing this is not a sign of decline. It is a mark of progress, compassion, and maturity as a society. That's what it means. And I heard them with some, half-baked argument about whether it's only for school children. The zero rating that is going on today is for everybody, Mr. Speaker. Not just for school children. It is for everybody. So I cannot understand the convenient argument, Mr. Speaker. Let us be clear, Mr. Speaker. Period poverty is real. It is not a slogan. It is not a political invention. It is the daily reality for many of our citizens around the world. Enlightened governments from Scotland to New Zealand, from Kenya to Guyana are addressing the issue with the seriousness and sensitivity that it deserves. Are we to believe that when other nations take such steps, it's noble? But when we do it in this country, it is shameful? Is that what it is? So the developed countries all over the planet can now take that step. And we applaud them. But when we do it, it is shameful. No, Mr. Speaker, what is shameful is to mock the effort and to belittle the struggle of women and girls who suffer in silence. Mr. Speaker, leaders are measured not by their ability to snare at the vulnerable, but by their willingness to uplift them. A true leader would commend this initiative and ask how it might be strengthened, how it might be expanded, how it might ensure that no child ever misses school because she cannot afford a sanitary pad. Instead, we have heard only contempt, scorn, Mr. Speaker, and an attempt to trivialize the suffering of women. But all of a sudden, members opposite, single mothers, but those very single mothers, they ill-treated when they were there. They destroy smiles, they destroy every program with single mothers. But don't wipe those guys. That's why they couldn't have a van load of people to take to the boulevard on Sunday. And so they come with some kind of storybook, a storybook beginning, but that's for another show. So, Mr. Speaker, we wish to not only reduce the cost of living for households, but also promote dignity for women and girls, and acknowledge the reality that these are not luxury items, but necessities. Mr. Speaker, today's resolution extends this measure further, ensuring continued access and affordability. This government remains committed to ensuring that no young girl misses school and no woman is placed at a disadvantage simply because of the cost of managing her health and well-being. Mr. Speaker, this policy follows our government's commitment to allocate $250,000 to schools to purchase sanitary napkins, which will be freely available to the girls in the school. We do not want our girls to miss out on their schooling, Mr. Speaker, because their parents cannot afford to buy the sanitary napkins for them. Extension of zero rating for renewable energy components is one that is charged with invaluable significance, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the second element of this order is exactly that. It is also important. In 2023, Parliament approved the temporary zero rating of specified components intended solely for harnessing solar power. That measure was originally granted for a period of 2 years, expiring in August 2025. Today's resolution seeks to extend this zero rating for an additional year, up to August 1st, 2026. The components covered under this measure include a number of devices and equipment. And so, Mr. Speaker, as I prepare to take it to its logical conclusion, this extension is necessary for three key reasons. One, energy security and resilience. St. Lucia, as a small island developing state, is highly vulnerable to global oil price shocks and supply chain disruptions. By incentivizing renewable energy, we strengthen our national energy security and reduce dependence on imported fossil fuels. Two, climate change and sustainability. The extension of zero rating on solar components directly supports our national and regional commitments under the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. It helps us transition to cleaner energy, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and build resilience against the existential threat of climate change. Three, cost of living and competitiveness. By reducing the upfront cost of solar technology, we make renewable energy more affordable to households, businesses, and communities. In turn, this lowers electricity costs over the long term and improves the competitiveness of our productive sectors, particularly tourism and manufacturing. A balanced approach to fiscal management is practiced in this posture assumed by this administration. Mr. Speaker, whilst tax reliefs of this nature inevitably reduce immediate VAT revenues, I repeat, such measures immediately reduces the VAT revenues. They represent targeted and strategic interventions in the interest of the people of St. Lucia. This government has taken a balanced approach, ensuring that such measures are aligned with the broader fiscal policy and debt management. So you see, Mr. Speaker, it's not just about doing this and doing that. It is properly calibrated by a financeman as well as an economist. That is the member for Kasris East and Minister for Finance. Now, if you see it was Olympics, you see sometimes you run and then you see who comes first and who comes second. You see this Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, if it were on the tracks, every time we go to the Olympics, we get in a gold medal. Every time we would go. And we are not just talking about regional governments, we are talking about the entire planet. We would get gold. He'll not be in the race. Mr. Speaker, we are a responsible government. unlike the previous government, which left a mountain of debt and payables for us to manage, we are providing carefully designed relief that addresses critical social needs and national priorities. Mr. Speaker, on this note, this resolution is a continuation of a progressive policy agenda that is putting the people first, a mantra of our government. It safeguards the dignity and equality of our women and girls while simultaneously driving forward our transition to clean energy and sustainable development. It is a measure that balances compassion with responsibility and social justice with economic foresight. I therefore commend this resolution to honorable members of this House and urge its unanimous approval. Now, Mr. Speaker, I did say that I was going to address myself very seriously to a sharp contrast between this administration and the former one. And we can do that on any given level, whether we talk about taxation policy, where we look at economic growth, we look at the price of fuel, we look at all of that, including that article which is written by your chief economic advisor. And that article has been destroyed by self-combustion. Maybe at this time may not allow, but next time we shall dissect the anatomy of that article and expose its nakedness in the sunlight of pragmatism, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government welcomes intellectuals who want to engage on the battlefields of ideas. We have no problem with that. They can come from CDB, DDB, whatever they come from. They must know that on the battlefields of ideas that we have the capability to degrade their propaganda. We have the capability to confront their arguments. I want them to bear in mind. And I told Mr. Tommy Descat in this house the last time that I spoke, there is life after politics. Do not devalue the currency of his professional integrity to try to promote what they did between 2016 and 2021 as good economic management. They should not do that, Mr. Speaker. And I told you 2 of the Japanese came and the 3rd one came, and the 3rd one just threw himself down with that exempted and 0 rated. So I'm hoping that they will regroup, reflect, have a better conversation with the people of this country when they have their little Sunday live, speak the truth to the people of the country, and I know very soon they'll come with their manifesto. Whilst we're preparing our manifesto, they'll come with their manifesto and try to mamagai the people of this country. But Mr. Speaker, it gives me great pride to be associated with the member for Cassis East and this administration as we continue the forward movement of the people of this country. And I know last time we said, putting you first. And you know all the tax revenues and all the measures. Who are reaping the benefits? The people of the country. And in PJP 2.0, we will continue to harvest the fruits of our labor. Long live the St. Lucia Labour Party. Long live the member for Cassis East. Hasta la victoria siempre. Venceremos. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.